Hi, I'm Tamara Caulder Richardson, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel, where we explore the afterlife and beyond. Welcome, everyone, and I'm glad to see you. Glad you're at the Seeking Heaven channel. You made a good choice. So before we get started with our guest, in part 2 of Mark Muncy, who is phenomenal. He's going to talk about spooky stories, and we're going to talk about his book. I want to first mention to you, if you haven't signed up on my newsletter for Academy of Divine Wisdom, do so. And I have classes that are downloadable. You can look at your convenience. Occasionally I have events that you can connect with that. I also offer starseed readings and sessions, as well as if you're interested in an evidential psychic medium reading, as well as a life path, I'd go to the Akashic Records. And check out my Seeking Heaven channel store, where I've got some really cool galactic and angelic merchandise. They go well together, don't they? And then finally, sign up. Make sure you watch these episodes, watch part 1, watch all my past episodes, subscribe, like, share with your friends, because your friends really need to know this. So let's talk about who is here today, which I'm excited. If you haven't seen part 1, please watch part 1. And that is Mark Muncy. And he wrote this incredible book. I love it. And I'm so glad I came across them. And if I find something cool, I like to share it with you, because I know you're interested in cool things too. And so I like to screen people and make sure they're just super awesome. And so my guest today is super awesome. So this book I have here, The Dark Side of the Smoky Mountains. And I was just thinking about how much I love, we're going to talk about different spooky things in this book. And this is just regular people that have come to Mark, and also his co-author Erica, that have mentioned that their own personal stories. And this is around the southeast of Smoky Mountains, and he's honestly, he has them everywhere. But this book is fascinating, and it's got the restaurants where you can visit. It's all public information, totally beautiful. So I'm going to bring on Mark, who is a cryptid author and experiencer, a host of Eerie travels, as well as NerdTalk and ParaGeeks on Area 52. He's also been, he's very busy. He's, as far as going to Dragon Con, he does a lot of podcasts. He's been on Coast to Coast AM, IntoTheFray. He's also a frequent guest in the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. He's just awesome. I mean, you've got to hear his story about his own paranormal story and how he came to really embrace. I don't really like to call it paranormal, because it's kind of who I am. I am a walking paranormal. So he's my people. So let's bring on Mark.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hello
Hello
again.
again.
Greetings, travelers, for my Eerie Travels folks that are joining us. So.
Yeah, welcome. And I'm going to put up here so people can see how to connect with you on eerietravels.com. And it is something that you need to check out. And also the book. Tell me, when was this book? I want to jump into the book, and then I want to go into kind of summary of part 1, but people need to see it because it was amazing. And then go into our spooky stories. When was this book released? It's so beautiful.
September of 2025. We had it a little early for some events, like you got it about a month early in August, but official publication date was September. And it was a lot of fun. We worked on it for about 2.5 years of research, and then about 6 months of actual writing. And that's how we do all of our stuff, is we do deep drives and go into historical archives. And we, like I said, we don't put any place in there that you can't go. The problem is we had a hurricane in the middle of all that. And so some of those places are sadly
underwater or damaged.
Yeah, or damaged, or to the point where the business went out of business. So we still left those in there, but we put caveats saying, hey, we're leaving this in there for historical accuracy and stuff. But yeah, that we held off publishing it for about 6 months because of that, because we wanted to make sure if things were coming back okay and all that. So
yeah, you mentioned
a lot of it has. So
Yeah, like you mentioned, what was it? Maggie Valley and Tweetsie. Like I was like so touched because as a kid we would go there. I was born in Hickory, North Carolina, which isn't,
Yeah.
it's not that far from the mountains. We used to go on. This is funny. This is totally dating me. On Sunday drives, my grandparents would say, "Let's go on a Sunday drive." That was like a grandparent thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we would go either the Daniel Boone Inn where they
Yeah.
do the homestyle serving.
Yeah.
And that whole area, so some of it really touched my heart. And then here it is right here. And you go into like the
Yeah.
where people can eat.
Yeah, that's one big thing. We couldn't do that. The previous books were all history press, so it all had to be historical or folklore or something like that. This one we got Four Horsemen Publishing. Erica, my co-host, she's the CEO of that, so that kind of helped. Yeah, she was able to put in fun places to eat, fun places to sleep. We could put in hotels. We could put in attractions that weren't really historical, but were still cool and themed right. And we could also put in just weird locations that were just odd, things like that. So
See, I love that. That's just
Yeah,
cool because that's an adventure. This is a day adventure. So this is the what I was talking about. I don't know if everyone
oh
can
yeah,
see it.
Ghost Town in the Sky. Yeah,
Ghost Town in the
it's
Sky.
sadly closed, but they're still working on trying to get a
Yeah.
buyer to restore it and stuff. But we were able to go up there and see. You can go up there with permission. People
Oh, you
sneak up there
can.
all the time and get destroyed by the police. It's trespassing. Don't do it. But if you reach out specific times, they will allow people up there, especially if you are doing like us, documenting historical stuff like that. But they do allow occasional tours. So just reach out. Again, that's the stuff we put in the book is who you reach out to, how you reach out to them. That way you can actually go visit these things. So.
Now, this the Ghost Town in the Sky in Maggie Valley. What was the actual name of it? That wasn't Tweetsie, was it?
It was originally Silver Dollar City, I think, Six Gun City, and then it was Ghost Town in the Sky was its most recent incarnation.
Really?
So,
Wow. Well, I remember going on that roller coaster. If I'm not mistaken, if it's either that or Tweetsie, you would know. I went on a roller coaster many years ago as a child, and it was on the side of like the freaking mountain. It was way up there, and when you did the roller coaster, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm up so high," because it was
that
way
might
up.
have
Is
been
that
it.
the
That
one?
might have been it because that is right there. It is on the edge of a mountain, but that
On
one
the
was a
edge.
fairly recent addition towards the end of its lifetime. They added that as kind of a last minute thing, and it didn't work. It didn't save the attraction, but.
Well, I hope they do bring it back, and they did bring back Land of Oz.
Yeah, but it's closed again this year because the hurricane damage destroyed the road to it. But hopefully next year.
Oh yeah, it became very popular. I was very happy to see that it was the Wizard of Oz theme and the Yellow Brick Road.
The beautiful mountains of Kansas.
Well, I like the gazebo where you would walk up to this gazebo, which was on the edge of a cliff, and all you can see is like the fog that was rising, the mist from the mountains because you're so freaking high up.
You're not really Smoky there, but close.
Yeah, it's very high up. Yeah, how high up is that gazebo in Land of Oz? It's pretty high up.
That's a couple thousand feet. It's pretty high.
It's awful. And also, have you ever done Grandfather Mountain?
Oh yeah, of course.
I did that as a kid, like da 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 da, walking across till I was halfway in the across because it's the swinging bridge. For those of you who don't know, Grandfather Mountain in North Carolina, it's a swinging mile-high bridge, and I didn't realize till I was midway through I was horrified of heights. But you have to cross the other way and go back. There's no other way to do it. It was not a good thing for me.
At least Rock City, we start the book in Chattanooga because that's kind of the edge of the Smokies, and we needed a starting city for it. And so we put in Rock City and of course the green-eyed monster, old Green Eyes from the Chickamauga battlefield there. And then you go up through Knoxville area and you come down. And you come down through Knoxville into Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. But we take you away from the tourist stuff and get you to the spooky stuff. You come out in Cherokee on the North Carolina side. And then we take you through Maggie Valley, Bryson City. But we also do a quick short jaunt over to Asheville because you need another city on the other side. So that way you can fly into either one of those. And then you hit the whole North Carolina side on the way out. And we hit all the folklore legends. And of course, we talk to a lot of the Cherokee tribe. We had some of their elders and Kathy Littlejohn, one of their major storytellers. They made sure we didn't screw up any of the Cherokee folk. They don't even call it folklore. It's Cherokee history. These are the things that happen.
Really? So they call their spiritual folklore as history. It's just history.
It's not folklore.
Oh, that's kind of cool. They honor that.
This is what happened. Exactly. And their creation stories are their creation stories. And who's to say they didn't? So and that's why we present it that way. But then, like I said, so we made it so you could do it like a 4-day trip all the way around, or you can extend it to a full week vacation, however you want to do it. That's what we do on our podcast, Eerie Travels, is let you go to places and find the dark side of things, the lesser known, and again, the folklore, the history is the primary, but we also have the fun.
Yep. So. This is so much fun. And the stories are cool. And so if you haven't seen part 1 with Mark, we really go into how he got into this, his experiences as a child, seeing something super spooky in the attic, and then later on about his own family property being, if you want to, kind of haunted, but it was with a question mark, cryptid question mark, very unusual, and you got to check that out. And then when he goes into what blows my mind is his experience with the Warrens, at the famous Warrens, at 9 years old. So
it's 3 hours with them. It's not an experience. That's
no 3 hours. I mean, I would have been thrilled with 3 minutes, and they're just famously known. And I have so much respect for them in that field. And they probably made some mistakes, like doing like a seance. Probably not a good idea in a haunted and demonic place.
Like Chris McKinnell, their grandchild, we talked to him recently on an episode, and he had this great thing. He's like, when people quote the Warrens or talk about the Warrens, are they talking about the Warrens from the 50s? Or are they talking about the Warrens from the 60s, the Warrens from the 70s, the Warrens from the 80s, the Warrens from the 90s? Because they learn. And this was not exactly. And so some of the stuff they said in the 50s isn't the same stuff they believed in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, same with us, right? We learn.
Yeah, exactly.
We learn, we evolve. And people said we used to say that. I'm like, well, I learned some things since then. Yeah. So it's okay to change our minds and to evolve. That's a good message for everybody. You don't have to be stuck as that same person or the same philosophy. If you learn more knowledge and, be a bigger person and say, I've expanded, I've grown, I've changed my viewpoint in that. But yeah, I'm like, just, clench when see in that home that was demonically possessed, or whatever you want to call it. It was awful. And doing a seance, but they were learning. They didn't know. They thought that was a way to connect, and they didn't realize what was involved, and they didn't know it was that bad. And they stuck to it, and their dedication is amazing, including, isn't it their cousin? Is it a cousin or their nephew? John Zaffis. Was it their nephew?
Yeah. Nephew. Yeah.
Okay. And then God bless him for having that place with the haunted objects. And then you've got your what is it, Mini Robert back there?
Oh, Mini Robert's hiding in the box back there. He's camera shy. We don't bring him out on the shows because we follow the rules. I did the documentary on Robert, and for Discovery Channel, Travel Channel, available on HBO Max and or whatever else you want to find it on. But talking head on. Now I'm a talking head on a lot of stuff. If you think, hey, I know that guy, it's not just that I look like Colonel Sanders. I'm on a bunch of shows, but I'm just kind of. This is all you see, and they usually dress me nicer.
Cool Halloween shirt. So
they make me dress up in a suit and look official. So we follow the rules with Mini Robert, because Mini Robert hung out with Real Robert quite a bit. And then we even had Stunt Robert, which was made for the documentary, and that was made by the Jim Henson Company. So that was the one that could be a puppet and look around and stuff. Yeah. So Robert is an official Muppet. So there you go. But
that is a neat little tidbit. Yeah. That is interesting. I didn't know that. And so they can find this documentary through Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon, HBO, Discovery Plus, wherever you want to find it. Just look at Curse of Robert the Doll, and not the one from 2006. It was like a terrible made-for-TV movie. That's the guy who made that. Just so you know, he did it without permission. And he got arrested for tax evasion and then was murdered in his prison cell a year later. So that is why don't mess with Robert the Doll, period.
Oh my gosh. Well, these things are, okay, we had this conversation off camera. multi-dimensional, but these beings, well, we are too. We just forgot we were in these bodies, but we are too, especially in our etheric or meditative state. But they're multi-dimensional. They don't have to say just attached to that thing. They can, they can expand out. So yeah, this is where we're talking about having boundaries, using your gut. I tell people all the time, and I've taught classes like superpower classes where, your intuition, how to develop your psychic powers and all this. And I train people how to basically tune into things, be sensitive. But I tell them the importance of grounding and protection and God's love and being in that, and how to not go past your boundaries.
Right.
And I've had many clients come to me because they don't follow that rule. Like, for example, the one lady, I felt bad for her, but she went in a voodoo shop and got something from a voodoo priestess, and then she started having horrible things happen at the house. Well, hello. Or if you go to a haunted location and you take like the rock from the property, this not yours, leave it. So I tell people just be respectful, and then it can be a harmonious relationship with the paranormal, right?
Yeah, you are not an amateur archaeologist. No,
Leave it. Don't bring the brick home. I know you're tempted, but don't do it.
Yeah, it's but then again, if you're out somewhere in the middle of nowhere and something calls to you and says, "Hey, take me home," that's up to you. But remember, intention is everything. Say, "Hey, if you're a bad thing, I don't want you. If you're a good thing, okay, come on home."
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, exactly. And I've had that. I've had the other where it's positive too. So it all depends, what you're guiding. That's what's important, to really stay connected to your heart center. So like, good, bad, whatever. All right, let's get into some creepy stories. So the lights. Did you send me the lights yet?
Yeah, it should be in the chat comments there.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, so I'll start the story while you're working on that. So this is actually a Tampa Bay legend. And
okay, hold on just a minute, Mark. Okay. Hold on. I hate to interrupt you. I don't see it in the chat. Could you?
The private chat in the studio?
Yeah, it says studio chat 2 people. Start the conversation. I don't see. If you could resend that.
All right, I will
resend that, and then we'll talk about it. You can even talk about the little people first while we're doing that.
Okay, I can do that. But all right.
Okay.
Come through that time. I just
let me see. Now we got it. Now we're rocking and rolling.
All right. So we'll start with this. But this is Tampa Bay. This was actually one of my earliest legends that while I was running a haunted attraction. And one of the stories I kept getting invited to put into our haunt, because we based it on local lore, was the story called Mini Lights. And in Tampa Bay, St. Pete particular, it said, if you say the word Mini Lights 3 times at the specific bridge, and it's always 3 times, you got to mock the Trinity and all these things, right?
That's true.
And it's and so it's not, say this 3 times, and you say Mini Lights 3 times, and then she'll appear, or these green lights will appear. And and that was on the north side of town. Never really understood it. We put some green lights in our haunt. It was just a thing for those that knew would know. And then years later, somebody said, "Oh no, her name is Minnie Lightning, and she's the voodoo queen of St. Petersburg." And she summons the lightning. That's why it's Tampa Bay Lightning. That's why it's the lightning capital of the world. And then she also has these little gator men that she sends out if you're mean to her, say bad things about her, and her gator boys will steal your children. Whoa. That escalated real quick from little dancing lights to alligator men from the sewers stealing your children, right? So I dug into this legend as much as I could. I thought maybe Mini Lights was a play on Mennonite. I thought, maybe that was it. I found a Mennonite lady who had a boarding house that got burned down, and she used to keep circus folk. And I thought, circus folk, maybe that's where the gator boys come from and all this. I had all these theories, wrote them all down in our book, Eerie, Florida, one of my first books.
Can I show it? Here it is. Can I show it?
Yeah, that's her. That's her and her gator boys, right?
I mean, they look like little dinosaurs. Is that what they're
exactly? That was the way they were described. Little guys with bats. Little
bats.
Gator boys with bats.
Gators. So they had so they're gator-ish, but
gator people. Yeah, and they've got baseball bats, because I love cryptids with weapons. I mean, cryptids aren't scary enough.
Oh man,
got to carry a weapon. Like the
they're just jacked up.
Carries. Monster carries an axe. Dogman of Defiance carries a club. My cryptid, the bench leg, is a wooden leg. This is the gator boys.
Gives them an edge. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mess with them without the bat, but now they got the bat. So
Okay.
what is the
So
serpent
now the
around
real
her?
story
Yeah.
is so much worse, though. It's not a voodoo queen. It's not
Mm.
little alligator men. The real story was there was an alligator farm in St. Petersburg in the 1930s that was for tourists. And we found it. We were looking through a historical archive, and this fan fell down. Like one of those cool yourself off while you're standing at a tourist attraction handheld fans.
Yeah.
And it was for this alligator farm, and it had two little African American children being chased by alligators in their alligator pit. And what they would do is they would kidnap from the south side of town, the bad part of town, kids who were out late. They would find them. They would grab them, because if you ever go to an alligator farm now, the alligators just lay there. They don't do anything unless you're
Right.
feeding them.
Right.
Gatorland, they're pretty good at entertaining people with their alligators. But for the
Right.
most part, they just lay there. So
Yeah.
this group found a way to entertain tourists. They'd throw these kids in the alligator pit, and they'd run around being chased by alligators. And some of them didn't make it. So beware of mini lights. Her gator boys will steal your children. Was beware of the men with lights. The gator boys, they will steal your children. That was the real story behind this, which is so much worse than a voodoo queen
That's
and
really
little alligator.
horrible. So,
It's
okay,
horrible.
so let me get this straight. Okay, there's a lot going on here. So
Yeah.
there's no lights. It's lightning from the voodoo priestess, correct?
And the men with lights, they had lanterns that would go hunting the kids at night.
Oh my gosh, that's awful. So the men with lights, and so these gator boys. Is this just a legend, or do people actually see anything?
Now, the men,
paranormal?
that's what manifested from this urban tale to keep you from
Okay.
staying out late. Don't go out late. The men with lights will get you. Turns into this. But now, because it's been, like I said, we talk about tulpas and egregores. Some people
Mhm.
swear Minnie Lightning is a real voodoo queen, and that she has
Mhm.
alligator men who steal your children. So is it true? I haven't seen any sightings of it, but some people from the 50s and 60s swear she was real.
So let's get into just real quick, just kind of, cap it off. The concept, if, well, we talked about earlier,
Mm.
poltergeist. And poltergeist can come within the person. They can create this activity. They can also create I won't say a real shadow person, but a
A
mocked up
manifestation.
a
A manifestation.
manifestation, a mocked up something, and that mocked up something is exhibited from their mental state, usually, or their consciousness. And so this could, but if there's enough people, let's say, that believe in it, it could create some type of, I don't know what it is. You could say an
We
entity, something.
we like to call them on our podcast. We talk a lot about fear mongers, which is what a psychic told me I had created at my old haunted attraction. Was something lives there and it feeds on the fear. And so, and I was like, oh, do I have to pay that? Because that's awesome. But for our haunted house, that's great. But if it's
Yeah,
in your house, that kind of sucks.
yeah, that's
Because
true.
what it does is it feeds on your negative, like an elemental,
Oh,
but it feeds on the
yeah.
negative fears. So it charges it and it finds your fear and manifests it. And if enough people are afraid of a thing, it
It
kind of could
manifests.
happen. And these things might feed off of that. Again, that's something we don't understand.
Right.
And
But that's one facet. There are people
yeah,
that are, and tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, maybe you can give an example that
yeah,
there are people that are walking about, going, about in their life, and then they stumble across something that they can't comprehend, and they go, "What is that?" And they're trying to process it, and they're maybe not even interested in the paranormal at that point.
yeah,
And of course, at the afterwards, most people are like, "What was that?" So, and
yeah.
they, become obsessed with knowing what I got to find out more, and what is this world that of things I don't understand. But there are people that just regular people that have these just random cryptid encounters. Don't you find that?
Yeah,
That's
and we get emails all the time from people who were like, I stumbled on this weird thing that's happened. They send it to us and they have no idea who we are. There's some friend of a friend said, hey, send it to Eerie Travels, send it to Mark, the creepy guy. And and that's how I get these stories for decades. I've gotten these things. and some are just random people in the middle of nowhere who have no idea what a not deer is. And a not deer was invented in the 2000s from creepypasta internet site, like a Wikipedia for paranormal, for those that don't know. And it just kind of came out, but now people are seeing it. Well, how are people seeing it if it was just invented? Has it manifested? Is it something that is, because so many people are convinced they're seeing it, are people now seeing it? And that's how this stuff works. And I don't know. We don't understand it. That's why we call it preternatural stuff we don't understand yet. And I get truck driver emailed me as something he saw in North Florida. It was a weird thing. He heard me on Coast to Coast AM, so he sent me an email. Month later, completely different truck driver sends me an email. He saw the exact same thing, North Florida, middle of nowhere, late one night, couldn't explain it. Almost the exact same thing, 10 miles different. And it's like, boom, I send a Bigfoot hunting team. I reach out to a Bigfoot hunting team in the area. I said, hey, something weird's going on in this area. See if you can find it. I don't tell them what they're looking for. Just kind of say, keep your eyes open.
Okay, good. You keep it objective.
I tell them it could be a Bigfoot, could be something else. And they didn't find it, but I sent a team out. So that's I'm an epileptic, so I can't go out in the field, but that's my job, is to direct others and see
this is really great. So you've got, this is terrific, because you've got a community in which you can tap into, depending on people's skills and interest and their passions, wanting to help in this area. So and also from what I understand with Bigfoot, it can show itself or not. Same thing with UFOs. It can show to certain people and not other people. I've been in a big crowd, and when I was on the Galactic Federation in 2024, I saw a huge mothership over the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing was out there. It was massive, the size of 3 football fields. I got it on film, and it was going this way and that way, the lights. Yeah, there was a ton of people up there, and I heard, they're here for you. No one else was looking. I said, they're here. And they looked at me like, yeah, right. Yeah. But they were right. It was right there. It looked like a city. So I think these things show them to certain people, but don't show them to others. And they can also, Bigfoot too, they could just, boom, disappear.
Some people can't taste cilantro because it tastes like, soap to them. Some people can't hear certain spectrum. Some people have what they call auditory hallucinations, but then they go, wait, they're actually hearing this. And then some people, we know animals see on a much wider spectrum than we do.
Yes.
So maybe things see things that we can't, and that's, maybe there are some people who are just more in tune that see things a little better. And the brain's a weird thing. There's that one sound people can't hear, as long they can only hear it if they're under 17. It's like 17 is this magic cutoff point for this certain wavelength.
Really?
You can only hear it. You can't hear it.
Is that a true thing you're saying? Is that true?
That is a true thing. This science is weird. Health is weird. The brain is weird.
Really? So at 17, you can hear. Well, do you think it has to do with hormones? Because I started seeing tons of paranormal stuff when I was in my teens. I was like, it was like nuts. And I was like, oh, please shut it down, because I think it's the hormones.
Yeah, that definitely, all of that is affected. Again, we don't study it enough to know. We know some of this, but some of it we don't.
Well, I'm just like, we need to. This is very important. We should put it all on the plate, whether it's true or untrue. I'm not saying everything's true. I'm saying that you should look at it as a possibility.
Yeah, like I said, when we do all these conventions and shows and stuff like that, we got to sell the books. People are like, you don't do this all for free. I'm like, no, I got to eat. And I'm a epileptic. I can't keep a job. Yeah, buy the book, EerieTravels.com, or your favorite local bookstore. They can order it, or Amazon, the usuals. We prefer if you order from your local store, so they have some fun with it. We love our indie bookstores, but this stuff it needs to be studied. But when we go to these conventions and stuff, the Bigfoot hunters won't talk about UFOs or ghosts.
I've noticed
the UFO hunters won't talk about ghosts or Bigfoot.
I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. Same thing with the near-death experience community. You mentioned aliens and UFO experience, and a lot of them are. And a lot of those people, there is a book by Ray Hernandez, if you haven't heard, that's multiple authors. And I think they even might have one of my stories in there, but where it's called Greater Reality. And he's talking about near-death experiencers also see ghosts, also see UFOs, also see Bigfoots, also it's because you said earlier on part one, which you got to see, is that you open that door. And the opening the door could be, it doesn't have to be a near-death experience. It could be, people say Kundalini. It doesn't have to be that. It could just be you're a kid like you were and saw that thing in your attic and you go, what? This isn't human. And then the initial reaction could be fear, but then later on it's like, what's that? Question mark.
Yeah.
And there's another world that's living.
What if it just wanted to let itself known, stuff like that. You never know with these things.
Yeah, but it sparked your interest, and there's another world on top of our world. There's another world that's going on. So let's talk about some more creepy stories. I do want to mention that you have many books out, and you also are quite an historian. You've done a lot on the indigenous people from, I guess it would be, what is it, Tennessee, Appalachia.
North Carolina, Tennessee, the Florida did a ton with the Seminole tribe and all the way back to the Tocavega, and then with the up here, Cherokee, the Choctaw, and some of the the Fort Ancient culture and stuff. Up in Ohio, we did a lot with the Adena and the Ojibwa tribe. We try to go to the historical ones as well as we reach out to as many elders and stuff. I talked Bram Stoker winning author Al Going Back of the Seminole tribe. He is amazing. If you find any of his books, you want a spooky read,
cool,
Rhoda or any of his stuff, he's a good
I'm
going to
write that down. That's cool. Okay, I love new stuff. Okay, what's the name of it again?
Owl, OWL Going Back. That's his name. He's a
Going Back. Man. Al Going Back. Spell it.
OWL for owl. Going Back, GOINGBACK.
Oh, just like it sounds. Okay. So look at his books. Okay, cool.
He's a medicine man of this Seminole tribe and an elder. And he is the guy I go to whenever I'm like, hey, is this a real legend? He'll be like, nope, the white man made it up. Or he'll be like, okay, yeah, this is a real thing. And he's made a few legends himself that people give him, don't give him no credit for. He invented a creature called the Crota, and it's in like a ton of now native lore saying, oh, look, the Crota is this ancient native spirit. He's like, I invented that for a book in the 80s. But anyway, that's why he's my go-to. But he introduced me to Kathy Littlejohn of the Cherokee, introduced me to some guys from the Ojibwa tribe that like to remain nameless. Some don't want to talk about it, in public, but they're willing to vest us on their stuff.
This is fascinating to me because when you're involved with the supernatural, paranormal, which we don't really have better words for. Sometimes the English language frustrates me.
Yeah, limited. Yeah.
Because it doesn't encompass everything I want to say. And in English on top of that it's very complicated.
And if you blur the science with it, quantum reality, paranormal, parallel universe, all that. It sounds weird, but it's all the same thing, guys.
It's real, and there are different dimensions. There are different timelines. There are these things that are occurring right now. Like, I mean, everywhere I go, I can sense there are spirit people. But I try, even like in strip malls, everywhere, like where you have the little shops. They kind of, I had to clear one from a Palm Beach tan. They kept having bottles thrown, and I had to talk to it. I was like, and I went here, and there was a room. It was so cool. Real quick, it was so cool. There was a room. Who knew? Of like, it looked like a battery. They had all this equipment. They said, oh, it does to this whole building. This is the supply of energy. Yeah. I said, that's what it likes. And I said, and guess what? The one that passed, who's connected to the guy, now brought the other ghosts that have family that works in the other. I was like, okay, y'all can't be doing this. Do you want to spend eternity at Palm Beach Tan? And they started laughing. Yeah. And I'm like, you're loved. It's going to be fine. You really can go on. And they said, it all stopped. I said, but I just had to validate them. And I'm like, I'm sorry you're upset, but you don't need to be. And they kind of took off, but they're pretty much so everywhere. I just try to tune them out and have a life, but that's their free will. They can hang out for a while. We might want to hang out for a while before we cross over.
You never know. We're a big fan of, on the podcast, we talk about cosplay ghosts, where if you're a ghost in a building and somebody comes up and says, wow, I think that's the ghost of Elvis. and then another person comes looking for the ghost of Elvis. Are you going to still just be Fred, Uncle Fred, who died on the couch? You're going to go find an Elvis, make yourself look like Elvis, and you're going to be the ghost of Elvis. And that's why Elvis is seen everywhere. George Washington is seen everywhere. In Florida, Al Capone is seen everywhere.
Oh, that's
They
a
were
good
there
point.
like 2 or 3 times. Why would they be haunting 20 different places? If you're a ghost and you want
Yeah, you want to look like
you want
Marilyn
attention,
Monroe.
you're gonna be
You
whatever
can
the
look.
hell you want to be.
Yeah, you can look like Marilyn. You can pick your avatar. It's just like that. Yeah, you can
Yep.
look like Marilyn Monroe, or
So
you.
we think that's the
That's
big thing.
well, and it also works the other way. And then we'll get into the next creepy story. It works the other way too, when you're in a place, where you like ghost hunting. Okay, and they go, well, like I saw a place. It was an old building. I don't know, 1800s, whatnot. And I was reading it for a business owner who wanted to purchase it. And I was like, yeah, this used to be where they showed the dead in this room. And I said, this is not good energy here, honestly. It's like people. It just carries a lot of baggage. And I said, there's rapes going on here. It's just not, there's a woman here who's protective. So anyway, I saw a child in the closet. Now you tell me if it had bad energy, was that a real child?
Or was it a kid who got just locked in the closet a lot? Is that his memory?
It,
But could it be something that said, hey,
I'm a
people open
kid.
up to see this scary, this scary kid. It gives me whatever I need
Yeah.
to sustain myself.
It wasn't a kid. It was blue because kids aren't blue. And I'm like, at first I was like, no, this is tricking me. This is not a kid. Like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
friendly. I'm a kid. I'm like, no, you're not a kid. So, these things this is where we need to use our intuition and so forth. So let me go here to this next story because you just, I mean, you just have so much cool stuff. All right. The little people.
The little people of Cherokee. Now, this is what we would call the Fae. Right? These are various tribes that live in the Smoky Mountains and elsewhere, but mostly in the Smokies. The Cherokee, there's good ones, there's bad ones. They'll mess with you or they'll help you depending on the mood. They are drawn to music. So if you're humming in the woods or whistling, remember that whole "don't whistle in the woods"? You might invite these guys in, but they are drawn to tribes playing their music. They'll come and listen and help. They'll guide you in the woods, but if it's the trickster ones, they could be guiding you somewhere you don't want to be. So that's the problem. So it's kind of like the Fae with the red caps versus the white ethereal ones. It's the same thing. But the Cherokee, they're real. There are tribes out there, not to be confused with the Moon-Eyed people, which were small people that had big bright eyes that couldn't see in bright light. And they even full moon would scare them, and that's why they're called the Moon-Eyed people. The Cherokee went to war with them and drove them into the earth, so that's why they live in the caves.
Interesting.
Now.
Oh, I love
Cherokee,
that.
talk about that great victory. There's a place in North Georgia called Fort Mountain that has this wall, the stone wall. We don't know who built it, but it's about 2 feet tall. Who would hide behind a 2 foot tall wall, right? Except something about 2 feet tall. So maybe the Moon-Eyed people or the little people built that. We don't know. The Cherokee chieftain who introduced it to some president, I don't remember the exact date, told them it was built by one of the ancestors of a tribe they went to war with. So a small tribe that they went to war with.
So the Moon-Eyed people, are they the same ones that would kind of also they look were some of them children or they look childlike where they looked mysterious with the big eyes, and they would also taunt people to like get in the car, go to their house, but you're not supposed to let them. Was there
That's a similar story, but the Moon-Eyed people were more ancient. And if you look at the carvings of them in Murphy, there's some effigies of them. They look a lot like gray aliens. So
do they?
Yeah.
Are they like bald-headed and so forth?
Yeah, the ones in the Cherokee thing. Now, some people say, oh no, they were white-skinned and blue-eyed, which would have been predating any settler. So some people say, oh, Prince Madoc, this lost prince of Wales that sailed across the sea, he founded a tribe here. That's unlikely.
That sounds very unlikely.
Yeah, it's a mix of stories that happens with these things. So I think they're more the Fae than anything. But the Moon-Eyed people, those could be some of the people we hear about, some of the things we hear about in the cave systems around here. And
that's what I was wondering. Okay,
yeah.
So this is very cool because my father, my dad, he's now passed, but he his grandparents lived on the reservation at Cherokee. Like I'm part
Oh, wow.
Cherokee. Yeah, so
Nice.
I've always felt an attraction, but I haven't really pursued any of that. But literally, we have pictures I've seen of like the full costume and all that. So,
Yeah.
but I think that sometimes that certain, what do you want to call it? Knowledge or supernatural abilities comes through tribes to people. It's not everybody. It
No.
skips, but I think that so I have a connection. Actually, it's interesting, Mark. I was thinking about actually making a visit in the next month to Cherokee,
Go.
and yeah, and I need to get connected with you, like who I should see and all of that, and also find out. I'm feeling drawn to my roots there,
Yeah.
and I don't really know why, but I follow the universe wherever it says,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it's magical. But the little-eyed people, so that's interesting. They, it sounds like to me they sound like the Greys, but
It's very similar. Yeah.
the Greys, they're in this hybridization program. I know they're a hive mentality, but they do have an agenda, and so they pushed them into
They
back
chased
into
them
the
into the
ground,
earth.
the cave systems, yeah, which is their whole cave systems down there.
And
That's very cool.
if you do go to Cherokee, first Saturday of every month, Kathy Littlejohn hosts the Cherokee Storytelling, which is right on the fork
Oh
of
my
the
gosh.
river
Oh,
there. It's amazing.
wow.
Worth your time. Worth your time.
Oh my gosh. See, this is the kind of thing, I wonder if they would be open to me filming it, or if it's sacred, that's okay.
Usually,
But
no, usually they allow that and everything. They do it for the tourists, but they'll tell you the real stories. And it's
wow.
one of those places in Eerie Travels and in Darkside of the Smokies, available from Fine Book
Okay.
Art.
So exactly,
Yeah,
this is why you can have quite an
yeah.
adventure. So this is the little people I would like to know. Well, the thing about Faye, my mother and I created a fairy garden, and it's not a fairy
Oh,
garden. It's huge. It's around the whole tree. It became a whole neighborhood. And so I had Karen Kay, the fairy whisperer from the UK, bless it. And it's like a whole big thing. It's around this
nice.
amazing tree where the
Yeah,
roots come up. The roots like take over the whole yard. I mean, they're huge. You can walk on them. They're very nubby. They're big, and now have moss grown. So the moss started growing in the mushrooms after we had this whole thing set. And I hand painted and put. It's it's a lot. It's kind of
yeah,
like what's behind you, but it's a whole neighborhood. It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot.
It's fun.
And we
It's
put them in these raised pots so that they wouldn't wash away, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
we have and then I cemented them and epoxied them so they would be stationary, so they're outside. So since then, I started getting a lot of fairy action. But I think if you just acknowledge them, and I do sing-songy stuff like "Here's today, it's glory, glory. Here's today," you sing songy. They love sing-songy stuff,
Yep.
and but I started having moss and mushrooms grown because of it. So um that here we're back to dimensions, that slither of that other dimension that's so close to ours, and one of is the Fae. They are attracted to shiny things, and they are attracted to sing-songy, and they are. I mean,
$100%.
it's a
In
thing.
this area over here, we've got gems galore. So that's in the earth. So that's why our house is on a geode. I mean, this is crazy. So
No.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. The whole
No.
mountains here.
You must have a ton of paranormal activity, do
We
you?
got a little bit that they're attracted to my books. I have quite a large library, and so the books tend to move around on their own, which is always fun.
Really?
Yeah, we'll come home, and so my books are like 3 or 4 rows deep on some of these, and somehow there'll be a book laying here that was 3 rows back. None of the other books have been touched, but it'll just be laying here on the
Wow.
couch or on the floor or somewhere in my
So
office, somewhere in another room.
oh,
So
that is
that's about the
so,
extent of it here.
that's
So
touching that
yeah,
they admire your thirst for, being inquisitive, and I mean,
it's funny.
it's not just right your knowledge.
It's mostly the old pulps, the old 1920s, 1930s men's adventure stuff like The Shadow and stuff like that. So it's
Are you
always fun.
kidding? That's what they
That's what
like.
they seem to like. And we had the only man I know who died here was an old professor. So maybe that was his private reading, but who knows? So
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, I really feel that you're surrounded by a lot of love, because you're letting this area be known that's hidden, and they like that. Who doesn't like to be acknowledged, right?
exactly.
Everybody loves that. So we've got another creature story. So let me put this one
Yeah.
up.
Oh, Dark Aggie. Dark Aggie is one of those. I'm not it's one of those. It was called Black Aggie, and supposedly was a slave that died, and that was not the story. When we dug deeper, we found out it was called Darkaggie, and it was this Grim Reaper character that came about. The Black Aggie was a story from West Virginia, completely different location than this one in Knoxville. Darkaggie, again, comes around the time of closing of the cemetery, right around sunset, and will appear to you as this dark shape with the skeletal face. The history behind it is that there was a caretaker here who died, and they dressed him like the Grim Reaper for Halloween all the time. And then when he died, he supposedly still came back as the Grim Reaper. So it was just,
That's an interesting story. Now, where does this take place again?
At Knoxville. I'm trying to remember the name of the cemetery off the top of my head. But they do a movie night in the cemetery about every 3 months, where you can watch a spooky movie in the cemetery with Darkaggie. And they recently did Return of the Living Dead, which was one of my favorite horror movies about a cemetery in the cemetery.
I know. I'm like, that's not good. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, ah.
Yeah. Well, for Halloween, the Cherokee Cinemas over in Cherokee Cavern Cinema, they have a movie theater in the cavern. They did The Descent in the cavern, which is, I'm like, oh man, that would be too much for me.
That would, what? I have to say, that's one of Tamara's most horrifying movies. Is I don't know, being stuck or whatever.
Based on the Moon Eyed People legend and the Feral People of the Appalachians, is a mix of those two. All right, we got to do the Boojum before we go. Can we do the Boojum?
Yeah, let's get that
favorite
Appalachians,
Dark Side of the Smoky story. This guy is my spirit animal. All right, so he was a Bigfoot, or a white thing. He's kind of a grayback Bigfoot. And he used to trade with the Cherokee. So they gave him this medicine bag he would wear on his neck so that they wouldn't shoot him. So they wouldn't think he was a bear or another evil, Bigfoot or something, or what they called the old men of the woods. And then I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Cherokee name. Thank you, Kathy Littlejohn, for trying to teach me these. I can't remember them. But then he started trading with the white man settlers that were coming into town. So they gave him one of those old hillbilly hats, right? That felt hat. So he had the hat, he had the thing, and he would trade. He would bring pelts, he would bring animals, and they would give him other stuff. Well, the story goes, the legend. This is where the legend kicks in. We know that's all historical. This old man of the woods, this wild man, was the settlers called him. Everybody, the skeptics say, "Oh, that just means he was a guy who lived out in the woods." No, this was a hairy. 7.5 to 8 feet tall, not a wild man in the woods.
Does he have a tail? Is that a tail?
Yeah, he supposedly has a little bit of a goat tail. So yeah. All right. Now he's in love with a young lady. Now the settler version, he's in love with a lady named Annie who works at an inn. For the Cherokee, he's in love with a Cherokee daughter of one of the tribal elders. So basically a princess. And in either story, he's trying to woo the girl. And nobody wants their daughter to marry this crazy creature. So they give him an impossible task: bring us tons of gems and gold. Well, he sees all the miners in the area gathering these stones, and he tries digging them up. He even makes a kind of a small tunnel, but he's not, he's got paws and stuff. He's not really good with this, but he sees the miners doing it, and they're bringing up bags of this stuff. And then they go into town and they give it to people, and then they give them moonshine in jugs, which they take up the hill, drink, pass out, and then start all over. So he says, I can carry tons of things. So I'll go down to town, carry a bunch of the moonshine up, bring it up to them. And then when they get drunk and fall asleep, now I'll just put all those gems in the jugs, and then I'll take it to get the girl. And the story on the Cherokee side is that he got her, and they married, and they had many, many children. And that is the white things that we see, these grayback, humanish Bigfoot in the area. There's a lot of them in this area. Some people say that they're They're silver because they're adapting to the Smoky Mountains, the mist, so they can hide in the
Okay.
mist and stuff. But I love that idea that, and the story was that she was a Cherokee princess with blonde hair, so she had been somehow intermingled with other species before, other races before.
Oh, that's
So
fascinating. So, did it come up? This is this is
yeah,
so that you got the jugs, you got the guy sleeping.
yeah,
So he's like, "Oh, while they're passed out, I'll bring them some booze and
yeah.
some moonshine. Then and moonshine that'll do it." And then grab the gem. So he got the girl. So
That,
blonde
that,
hair. So go ahead.
no, I was gonna say now the settler side of this though is a little more tragic because he was
Oh,
trying to
okay.
woo Annie and he was bringing her the gems, and they would call to each other at night to know when it was safe to visit. She would hoot to him, do that Bigfoot whoop that you hear about. The Bigfoot hunters always say
Mhm.
whoop, so
Oh,
she would
yeah.
hoot to him, and then he would holler back, he would hoot back, and they'd know it's safe to come and trade gems and trade their love and all that. Now the story goes, she worked for this hotel, and the hotel owner or her father, maybe depending on the story, didn't like her getting all these gems and all this, so he killed the Boojum with fire. And but so Annie keeps going out there hooting to try to call him, and he doesn't return. So she just keeps calling, and that's where we get the term Hootin' Annie from, according to them.
No.
So yeah,
That's cool.
I like that, but I also, it's sad. I don't like that. I prefer that he lived a happy life and that we
Me
get
too.
these hybrid Bigfoot that we see out here now. So
Oh, wow. Yeah. So he won the girl, but she liked him.
yeah, yeah, that she wasn't
Yeah.
mad about it. She wanted to stay
Yeah.
with him, just couldn't get the family permission. So either story says that. So which
Isn't
is
that so this is, I love when there's creature love stories. It's
yeah,
just so romantic.
yeah. And it's just cute. And like I said, now if you go to Waynesville, North Carolina, they have the Boojum Brewery, which is where they make beers based on the Boojum. So, and
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Wow. But
and they
this is
didn't
what
even
that's
know the whole
great.
story.
You're kidding. And, I wonder if their logo looks like him.
It's
Does
just a
it?
Bigfoot with a bunch of animals jumping around it. You don't, not the Bigfoot creature, just a giant furry foot.
Oh, a foot. Well,
Yeah.
this creature looking at it, it's not really a Bigfoot.
No,
What would
it's
you
just
call
he's
it?
some sort of hybrid type thing, the way they were describing him. So, like I said, an old man of the woods. He has more satyr, like the bottom half. So maybe a goat
Oh,
man and maybe the hat was hiding the horns. So it is
are
very
you
similar to some of the
serious?
goat man legends I've heard. So,
Oh,
but
you're kidding. So that's very interesting. So the goat legend, that really ties into, mythology. And I asked myself, I used to love mythology when I was in junior high and high school. I just loved it.
yeah,
And then now I look back on it because I've heard and seen so much and even more with you here
yeah.
that I'm thinking, was it mythology? Was it
It's
really?
history. It's just
It, it,
it's
it,
just like
it's
all reporting. We
it's
change things a little bit. The
yeah.
victors change things. So the history becomes the mythology, and now we're realizing, Atlantis may not have been just something that Plato invented. We're like, oh, okay, yeah,
No.
maybe it was here in
Yeah.
Africa, or
Well,
maybe it was here.
they're actually the Herdocs, the doctors, the Herdocs are looking into, they have artifacts, are working with the with Mexico, with the
Yeah.
council there and the governments there to actually dig it up. And it's funny because it came through a reading I did, Altia. Well, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
about Atlantis. Well, guess what Atlantis used to be called? Altia.
I'll tell you.
So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I said, well, I asked him why did that come up. I said, well, you can channel people. Why couldn't you channel a place? And I went,